Welcome back to yet another episode with a guest. Again, people who have been watching us know the guest. Guest is Shweta Chawla. Shweta is a good friend and a very well-known name in cyber forensics and investigations across the different segments, including personal issues, including enterprise issues and stuff. So we thought let's do an episode with Shweta, understanding what are the different kind of issues that we see in enterprise world and what are the important things to remember while a case has happened, something wrong has happened in your environment, or something which you are doubtful of, and how do you actually be helpful for the investigation. So that's where we are. We'll have that conversation today with Shweta.
Absolutely.
Welcome, Shweta. Welcome to the studio again.
Thank you.
So let's start understanding something that, okay, what can go wrong, what have gone wrong in your past experiences with companies, and where do you actually see that had it been done this way, it would have been easy to investigate. Protection is a separate story altogether. Investigation point of view only.
Okay, so when we are talking about what can go wrong, anything and everything can go wrong. I mean, we can have systems glitching, we can have employees stealing data, we can have employees conducting full-blown espionage programs on behalf of
A competition. Okay.
We can have malware, ransomware, coordinated attacks against a company. So where things can go wrong, lots.
A lot of places, yeah.
And the only thing that can go right is vigilance.
Okay.
And pay attention, maintain logs of everything. We've had a case where their entire database was compromised.
Okay.
So the company is live Monday morning, and the employees get in the morning. So they are servicing multiple time zones. So they get in 6 in the morning to discover that the entire database of all clients is cleaned out.
Deleted.
No, replaced by the Sunday Times of India. So the day before, Times of India newspaper has found its way into every field of the database of the company.
No. Tell me again. Sunday Times of India.
So the night before, the day before Times of India.
Yeah.
Entries from that have found their way into.
So these are news titles, news
So they
body,
clearly say
date,
Sunday
time.
Times of India with the date and time.
Okay.
So effectively, the URL of the Sunday Times of India was placed over here.
Okay.
And there's no entry of any legitimate data in their enterprise anymore.
Okay.
So of course, panic ensues. And but the company has been vigilant, and being vigilant, they have, I mean, at one level. So being vigilant, they have got backups every Friday evening for all time zones. So they're good there.
So they replace the Friday
Monday
backup.
Morning, panic mode happens. Clients are told, look, we've gotten issues. Networks are down. So we will be back up in a couple of hours. Databases are replaced and they are up and running.
So the RTO, the recovery time, the RPO, recovery point objective was 2 days ago, 48 hours.
48 hours.
Okay.
And weekends, the company doesn't work. So they had no data built there. So they are happy. We are up and running. And now is where a very interesting problem comes up. They go into debate mode on whether they should conduct an investigation or not.
Something of that seriousness has happened and they're still thinking whether they should investigate?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question was, should we go to the police? Should we go to a private investigator? Should we talk to our lawyers? Eventually, the whole thing was escalated to the board of directors. This is now 5.5 months after the activity has happened.
Okay, so since the activity, should we investigate or not, has taken 5.5 months.
Yeah.
Okay. How old the story is?
So the story is not very old. This is about 6 years old.
Okay.
And so it's not a situation where cybercrimes are new. It's not a situation where it's also not current, where CERT India needs to be reported to immediately.
The 6 are reporting to CERT India.
Exactly. Yeah.
And CERT India mandate that 6-month log has to be kept.
Exactly. So at this time, these people have a 6-month log.
Okay.
Because when they eventually come to us, they tell us, oh, we've got 6 months log. We are all sorted out. You can look at the log. We are good. So we do,
But we're already 5.5 months ahead.
which is something that they
So
had
the
not
log
computed.
rotation is moving in.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we are now at a situation where we are 1 day short of 6 months, which is when they have come to us and we say, we need your logs.
So they have the Saturday log or the Sunday log?
So they had only the Sunday log.
Okay.
Fortunately, they had the entire Sunday log and only the Sunday log for the database server.
Okay.
So we don't have the server, the Sunday log for their firewalls. We don't have the Sunday
Application
log for
server,
application
anything
servers.
else?
Nothing else.
Only the database.
By some miracle, this log existed.
Okay.
And it was nothing short of a miracle because we found tons of evidence in this one log which helped us identify the perpetrator.
Okay. Okay.
So the perpetrator was not your smartest cyber criminal. The perpetrator was a disgruntled employee from the company itself.
Insider.
Insider who had been thrown out 7 months ago.
Okay. But still has access, still knows a lot
Had
of stuff.
access at
At
that
least know
time.
the whole process, the way company
Yes.
operates. Okay.
So here's the fun part. He got into the system through his still active credentials.
Okay.
So now he's in the machine. He has no clue on how to use databases. That has never been his job. So when we got the IP, tracked back to the man's house, and yes, he had used his home IP, we found his home computer. We examined that, and on his home computer, we can see that he is. So the database log showed us multiple SQL entries where it showed that he was trying to get into the machine.
Multiple attempts.
Multiple attempts, which started at 7 in the evening on Sunday and continued till 12:06 on Monday morning.
Okay.
And attempts are on, and there's been little success. So you can see the progression in the kind of attack.
So just experimenting with all the commands.
Experimenting.
Okay.
We realized when we actually got his machine, examined it, and looked for traces, that the man had been doing searches for how to do SQL injections.
Okay.
So
basically,
he's doing a
just
search.
disgruntled, not a very
Huh.
technically smart on
Not
that
at
particular
all.
thing, but yeah, attempting. Okay.
Attempting, and was successful. It isn't just a question of him attempting it anymore. So he attempted it at 12:06. He has succeeded in replacing all databases for all clients with the Sunday Times of India URL.
And why Sunday Times of India URL?
I think because it was handy.
What else should I put? I'll just put
Kuch
this
to
one.
dalna hai, let's put
Let's
some
put
junk in.
something
Let's
junk
put
in.
Sunday Times of India.
Okay. Okay.
And which the advantage of that was it gave us a time frame. So we knew that if it was the Sunday Times of India, the attack absolutely did not happen on Saturday.
Yeah.
It had to have happened on Sunday. And this was also the time when your physical newspaper used to come out first, and then your
The digital
e-paper
edition
was
would
slightly
come in.
later in the day.
Yeah.
So it made things much clearer for us. But the company got really lucky. They
That
had
1 day log, the Sunday log itself.
one log.
Yeah.
And that one log had all the evidence needed to lead us to the perpetrator. But they came to within 24 hours of losing even that much.
Okay.
So, first thing, and here I think this is a very major thing that most companies need to keep in mind. Cyber attacks are going to happen.
Oh, yes.
It's not a question of will my company be infected, but a question of when my company will be attacked. So being vigilant is very good, but have a policy, have a plan in place that when an attack happens, these are the people who are going to be first notified. This is the plan of action we are going to take. We are going to call up the police. We are going to report it there. We are going to report it to our lawyers. We have maybe an investigator on call, or our lawyers know a bunch of investigators who we can call. And we start the investigation process as soon as detection has happened. as soon after
so
detection
that
as
the
possible.
better investigation can happen.
Yeah.
And this all should be actually part of the incident response policy.
It absolutely should
The
be
IR
part of the
policy of
IR
any
policy.
company
Yes.
should have all of these
Yeah.
things in place.
The scary part, many companies don't have an IR
I
policy.
agree, but companies who are actually grooming up to security and building up security
Oh,
in their level,
absolutely, they do.
they should have a information security policy, plus along with that the BCPDR policy as well as the incident
Yes.
response policy. If put together, this could have been much easier to solve.
So your backup and disaster recovery policies for many companies are shelved. And they are there on paper, but they are not there as execution, as I'm sure you know.
Yep.
And we had a case a few months ago where we said, okay, we'll start work on the investigation, but you restore your backups from another machine and continue. And they said, we don't have backups for the last 3 months. So we need the data that is here.
Oops.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now, instead of doing an investigation, our role has shifted from let's find the perpetrator to let's do data recovery first. So we are
Yeah,
spending
because
time.
a lot of people actually consider, oh, forensics means they will help me do the data recovery as well.
So forensics,
But that's not
no,
the
that's
prime
not it.
rule. That's
No,
not the prime rule of DFIR itself.
absolutely not.
The
Forensics
DFIR
is
is
investigation
digital
first.
forensics and incident response.
Yeah.
So your job is not to actually dig the backup and put it into the place.
Not at all. We
Okay.
can do that, but usually we would prefer to do that as the last step and not as the first step in the
But
investigation.
for a company, getting back
That
into
is
getting back on the feet is the first priority
absolutely.
they have.
So their need and the investigative need very often don't match.
Yeah? Okay.
The other biggest problem for companies is that actually for everybody, they think forensics happens in 30 seconds. So I think CID is to blame here. Where
Dr.
we've,
Chalukya is to be blamed.
yes, we've all grown up on these cases, on these programs where on CID and CSI, we are shown
Investigatum completa.
exactly. And you've barely blinked and the investigation is done.
Right.
So we've had clients who tell us, okay, 1 week, right? And you're done. And in 1 week, we have barely finished the acquisition of your data. And investigations are going to take us at least another 2 weeks.
Now to start from here.
Yes.
Till now, I've just
Collected
digged the
things.
graves and
Yeah.
figured out what is going wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
So investigations unfortunately take time. Particularly when you want an investigation done thoroughly, completely, and accurately, it needs its time.
It would. Agree.
And so that's a complication.
So, some pointers from your side for a company to remember in case they see something wrong. I'm not even calling it out as an incident yet.
Yeah.
If they see something wrong, what should be their action? And technically, it should form a part of their IR policy.
It should.
But what should technically be they doing, and what should they not be doing, which can hamper the investigation?
Okay, so first thing, if you believe a machine, and I'm talking only about a single machine being infected or the group of machines being infected, take them off the network. Isolate the damage.
As in plug in the network cable out.
Literally plug out the network cable. If it's on a Wi-Fi router, take away the connection of the Wi-Fi router. So isolate these machines virtually.
Okay.
Second, make sure that no employees or any external people come and interact with these machines. Because for all we know, it was an internal person who caused a problem, came back, has
Deleted the
decided,
evidence.
let's say there's traces. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the second. The third is please have a concerted, well thought out incident response policy. It doesn't matter whether this is a 2-person company or a 2,000-person company. An incident is going to happen at some point of time. And at that time, it's problematic if we run around like headless chickens. The third is there are government policies that mandate log management.
The guideline issued by CERT India, April 2022.
Exactly.
Yeah.
6 months of logs is the minimum that needs to be retained. And 6 months of all kinds of logs. So for an investigator, your system logs, your router logs, your access point logs, server logs, firewall logs, SIEM logs, security application logs are all essential. because they will all help tell us a story.
But people feel that it's a burden on doing the business to collect those logs, store it at a different place, maintain the log for so long. It's a cost.
It's definitely a cost.
What's cost of doing business?
I would say it's the cost of surviving and keeping a business running.
Okay.
Simply because if an incident has happened and you have clients, your clients can file a case against you.
Oh yes, yes, we have seen that.
We've seen that.
In our experiences as well. We have seen that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And your clients, when they file a case against you, they are effectively going to make sure that you are left with not a penny. And all you needed to do was maybe spend 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs to build a log management setup or outsource a log management setup.
To a trusted SOC party or someone
Exactly.
who's maintaining the SOC and
Yeah.
doing a monitoring for you against that.
Because again, it's not a logistical headache, but it's a manpower headache.
Yeah, yeah.
I would need to have the correct team. I would need to have a 24/7 monitoring.
If the need be, but yes, that can be
Yes.
outsourced very easily.
So I'd rather outsource it than
Yeah.
do it in house very often.
Right.
But this is something that's essential. And finally, please don't be embarrassed about going to the police. It is essential that the police know about these cases.
But my brand value will take a hit. People will get to know that I'm hacked because that's what the keyword is, hacked.
Yes, but your data is finding its way on the dark web.
Anyway.
And you don't really want some employee or the child of some employee or the client to come back and say, oh, we found all the data of all your clients on the dark web. And so you had a breach, you didn't tell us about it.
But we got to know somehow.
Now we know you've had a breach, which means 6 months ago when you had the breach, so far you've been cheating us. And what brand value do you have at the end of that?
So it happens, just open up.
Absolutely. And
own it up and say that
Yeah,
something has gone
yeah.
wrong and we are fixing it.
yes.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that cyber incidents happen.
Correct.
It takes time to fix. There's no denying that. There are also situations where fixing is more complex than other cases. But if you don't own up to it, you're never going to find the right resources to help.
Interesting. So that's what the gist is, that you should take care of these basic set of instructions that, okay, do not fiddle around with that machine. Do not power it off.
Do not power it off.
A
Yes,
lot of
please.
cases we have seen that people
Oh,
just
yes.
plug the power off, that
No,
okay,
no, no,
if the
no,
machine
no,
is
no.
infected, we'll just shut it down.
So if your machine is on, leave it on. If the machine is off, okay, fine, nothing
Leave
can
it
be
off.
done. Don't turn it back on. So we've had situations where we've had fully compromised machines, and again, not the right word, but the hacker has injected a program into it that when the machine is restarted, it restores itself to an original older backup and wipes out all traces.
Anti-forensics.
Anti-forensics.
Okay.
And so that's not a fun thing to happen. So if a machine is on, keep it on. Take it off the network, but keep it on.
So isolate so that the
Isolate
attack
it.
is contaminated, or
Yeah,
the contamination
absolutely.
is contained to an environment.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if by any chance things like cell phones are compromised, then you need to put it in something like a Faraday cage.
Nobody gets Faraday cages so easily. It's
Oh,
not a-
no, we do. Amazon has them. You've
Oh,
got
Amazon
Faraday
has it.
bags.
You can't go to the local
Ha.
stationery shop and
No,
buy a Faraday
it's not
bag.
going to be available.
But or rather, would you quickly in half a minute tell them what is a Faraday bag and how do you use it for?
So Faraday bag is basically is used to isolate a device and prevent frequencies from getting to that device, wireless frequencies particularly.
So no Bluetooth, no,
no
Wi-Fi,
Bluetooth, no
cell phone
Wi-Fi,
connection.
nothing.
So just like a brick inside,
Yeah.
but still powered on.
So you get Faraday bags that have a cable that will retain power.
Okay.
Because the device is still going to continue trying to communicate outside.
Correct.
So one solution is turn it on to flight mode. If you don't have the password, what do? The employee might not give you the password. Even if it is your device, the employee has been using it and the employee says,
So just
I'm not
use
going
the
to give it to
Faraday
you.
bag, plug it in, and let
Absolutely.
it keep
Keep
powering
it charging.
the device.
But isolate it. So it's not getting new instructions. It is not deleting data because of a command it's got. It is not sending out new data because it can't.
there still could be logics, right? If it is not able to communicate back to the command and control
Ha.
center for 1 hour,
Yes.
auto destruct everything. But
Yeah.
yes, still
So those are risks that you need to take into
there
account.
is still the risk.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I hope you got a lot of insights from what can go wrong, how things go wrong, an interesting story of an investigation, and more importantly, what you should do in case something of that sort happens with your environment. So with that learning, I'll leave you out with thinking about that stuff. Hoping to see Shweta back into the studio again and have some more interesting discussion later on. Thank you.